welcome to episode 2 of Talking with Friends. I'm Josh Shernoff from Mind of the Meanie podcast, and these are my friends. First, we'll start with my brother from the same mother and father, because he's just my brother, Fred Shernoff. Fred is here. Good to have you here. And the Tan Man himself, Calvin Tan, is joining us once again, as he is contractually obligated to do. And last, but certainly not least, Mangol by name, Mangol by reputation, Matt Mangol is here, sporting a very interesting shirt. For those of you who are watching the video of this, that is Mangol getting some height there on a leg drop onto yours truly. So good times. It's back in April of 2002, so almost 19 years ago.
You can tell by the quality of the video shot.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was going to say the quality of the jump.
I was going to say, yeah.
The quality of the jump has gotten better with age, sir. And it's nice to be here. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. I do want to point out that Mangol has some really nice lighting behind him. Fred, I want to thank you for taking a moment, or I guess thank whoever was interrogating you for stepping out of the room for a few minutes so that we could. Fred just has that one light dangling over him. It looks like
it's like the fiend is coming.
Yeah. And Calvin Tan is gone. No, but Fred, actually, what do you have? You've got like the background's cut out, right? But what's kind of cool about it is the background's cut out, but it looks like you're just in a dark room. Like, it doesn't look like. So I like it. I think it's good. It's the absence of light. And I, of course, am coming to you.
Special effects.
Yeah, I'm coming to you from the Shernoff office, as it's been called. And for those watching, if you've noticed, I got a little gig right here on my face. My almost 9-month-old son just grabbed a hold of my cheek, and the rest is history. But
I taught him well.
Yes, you've never met him, but he taught him well, because he is a pandemic baby. So he has never met anyone. But we are here today to say thank you to all of you who tuned into the first episode. Kind of crazy that anyone wanted to listen to what we had to say, talking about the TWF and back in the day. But even crazier that people enjoyed it. So yeah, what did you guys? What was the feedback you guys got on the show?
Everybody says it's pretty good. I don't know. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
all positive.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we're going to delve into more topics this week, guys. Yeah.
We're not just going to talk about the same thing we talked about last time.
We did so much more. Like, we built back then, right? Like, we built a whole stage entrance, which
Fred, you can talk about that.
Didn't exist in the indies.
No, it didn't.
We had video packages that didn't exist at the time either for indies. So we did a lot.
Yes,
we were always trying to one up the indies and what else was out there, because we had to compete with what we had, which was some creativity, I guess. We didn't have a lot of in-ring talent, but
I mean, myself and Mangol aside, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But you know what? But we, you doing the stage. So Fred built the stage. I mean, we all helped in the sense that we were there and
crew.
You know, kind of as his crew, as gremlins, if you will. But Fred designed and built this stage. But I think
wait, let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
I don't remember how this came about. Like, did he just throw it out and then we were like, yeah, I can do that? Is that what happened?
Probably. I was coming up with ideas, because it's kind of a whole other thing, but the projector for the videos and all that, which was really hard back then. Like, no stores carried these things, and it was expensive. And I think Mangol, you got like a credit card or something.
Well, no, we had to get the Comp USA.
Well, the Comp USA, I thought that was the screen, right? Or that was the projector.
The $1,400 projector.
I had the co-sign for it. I'm there against my will. We're supposed to be going to a movie, I believe. We go into the store. Fred has an itch and a fire under him. Hopefully he doesn't have that now in his interrogation room. But
no, he got a shot for that.
Oh, perfect. So you have a shot for that? But anyway,
it's called penicillin, Mangol. You don't need to suffer, Matt.
So anyway, hemorrhoids. First hemorrhoid joke of the show. So anyway,
hemorrhoids is what we were talking about. Okay, yeah. No, we'll go with hemorrhoids.
I had to co-sign on the man's card and hope that he paid it. So
was it you? Was it you and Fred?
Might have been.
Or no. It was our friend Biz and I had to do it. That's what it was. I co-signed.
Okay, so it was you. Yes, it was you and Biz. You guys will probably hear about Biz. You'll never hear from Biz, but you'll probably hear about Biz as this show goes on. It's inevitable, especially when we talk about like the 2002 era.
Which is that's what we're talking about, which is
yes.
a little bit ahead of it, what we discussed.
Yeah, so last time we talked about all our stuff in 99 in the Teenage Wrestling Foundation. But we should talk about when the TWF came back in 2002 and we were all legal adults and I became the youngest wrestling promoter in Pennsylvania history.
Right.
Which, I mean, people may have tied me by now because I was 18. You can't get any younger than 18. So, I don't know. People may have tied me. But at the time, I was the youngest.
So we ran two shows in the teenage league and had posters and everything out marketing the third show that never ended up happening. That got shut down by the state athletic commission because we were all underage.
With a fun story about Dino Santa, which I brought up recently on something. I don't remember. I do so many shows. I don't know.
Mind of the Meanie. It was on there.
It was on Mind of the Meanie.
Yes.
So that's Dino Santa. That time was in between incarnations of TWF, and then the time with the projector and all that was when we were coming back to do it for real. That we're going to hire wrestlers and do this legit.
And that's a fun one to talk about because that's when real wrestlers started coming into the mix. For instance, our first show that we did there in 2002 it was February, I want to say 17th, 2002.
Same night that NWO debuted.
Yes, the same night the NWO debuted, which we did not know was going to happen when we booked that.
Good booking, Josh. Good booking. Yeah,
that was on me. But I remember when Vince McMahon spun around in that chair with the whiteout on it, and it was a little upsetting when we found out when they were coming back. But we were doing that show. It was called Back from Beyond because our big show had been Beyond the Grave. That was our big show at the Fort Washington Expo Center. And again, I talked about last week. Go to FITE TV and you can find the retrospective that myself, Calvin, and Noah Sokoloff did on that. But man, so we were coming back, and one of the first people we signed was Kevin Matthews, who everybody knows now as the WrestlePro promoter, taking Alaska by storm. And Kevin was one of the first people we signed and ended up on that show playing a couple of different characters, and we'll get to that in a minute too. I think he even wrestled. He did like one or two moves, I think, that night too. So we decided this needed to be something special. It needed to be bigger, and we needed what do you do to make a mark? Well, nobody in the Indies now. Everybody in the Indies has like a LED screen. Yeah. Nobody had any entrance videos or screens or anything like that. And
that's something we've talked about a lot, that it would be hard to do what we did nowadays. It would be easy to do, but it would be hard to stand out.
Yeah. We wouldn't stand out at all. And I think there's an aspect of the creativity maybe that would stand out.
Creativity is there, but I think that everything we did, from the hardware and things that we needed to do it, to the ability to edit together videos, like my daughters in elementary school could edit an entrance video now. Like that's that's where we live in.
And that was a big. I think that was a big. That was my. We were a part of a web series too, and I remember when people really loved when we did this web series back in 2008. I'm sorry, 2008. And one of the things people loved was our quote unquote professional style opening credits. And when we brought it back for one last season in, I don't even know when that, in 2006, 2017 maybe, 16, 17. Already at that point, I just had like a little bumper where in the beginning where the logo came up. I forget who it was, but someone asked like, oh, you're not going to do like a opening credits. And what I said was like, it's kind of a waste of time because that was one of much like the entrance videos for the TWF in 2002. In 2008, these opening credits for a sitcom show that we were able to do was so impressive. And now there's 46 free apps on your phone that could do something just as good, if not better, than what I would have been able to come up with. So yeah, I was just like, man, we're not going to waste our time with it. And again, that's why things wouldn't have stood out. We had a lot of dressing, very much in the way of people always talk about ECW, how Paul Heyman was able to accentuate the positives and mask the negatives of his talent. Not saying our talent was on the level of ECW talent, but
it was the whole product. We were masquerading the
whole product. We were just kind of covering it. But now we had the opportunity. There were only a few holdovers from the original, and and some of those holdovers, like Fred, yourself, and Calvin, were backstage or camera or working the camera or doing something like that.
Right, Calvin and I were running the actual production.
We were running the entrance videos and the music.
So you were no longer wrestling.
Talk about like how, I mean, with the projector and everything, the way it worked at the time, we had no idea what we were doing, but we had a projector that was hooked up to a little television, so I could see what was happening, and we had a DVD player that we used. I don't even know what the program was, but we made each entrance video was like a different chapter on a DVD, and there was a menu. So
I just found one of those DVDs from one of our, maybe like our third show or something. I found it. I put it in the DVD player, and it was still there. And it was like such a black.
A shot of that menu into this video.
I'll see. Well, you know what? I think I have like an actual. I think I have a screenshot. I took a picture of it on my screen, so I'll have to find when I sent that to you guys. So I'll find it. I'll start looking while you tell the story.
The way it worked, we had. The projector, which by the way was, it was very expensive, but it was not any good. It couldn't project or be visible unless you were in complete, basically the darkness that I'm in right now.
Right.
And
this is a $1,400 projected. The lumens aren't up to par with today.
No, not at all.
It's obviously not HD back then, and it was nothing like what you can have in a little like Pico projector now. We were working with that, but the kicker was that we had to hide the fact that it was going to, after every entrance, it was going to go back to this menu. So Calvin's job, every time that I was about to stop a video playing, Calvin had to put the lens back on, or the cover back on top of the projector lens.
I forgot about
the lens cap.
So we timed
it right. Also, at that time, like ECW didn't even have video entrances.
No, right.
And I believe that most of the indie shows that we went to, the entrance music that people were using was from the WWF CDs. So they were using like Ken Shamrock's entrance music, Gangrel's
here it is, Back from
music.
Beyond. I'll show it up here, but I'll edit it so you guys can see it, but I'll be editing it in here. Yeah. So
not only did we have custom entrance videos, but we also had some custom entrance music too, which was different from other indies, because they were all using like WWF tracks.
So a big part of that, and it was the entrance videos, and it was the stage, which I'll get back to that story, and everything that we were doing. We wanted to stand out for the fans, but also we were all still very young, and Josh being who's basically 2 to 3 years younger than the rest of us, and he was in charge, and we needed the credibility bringing in outside talent who are legit pro wrestlers and are going to be coming in and working for us. So part of it was that what our hope was, and it actually worked, was that when these men and women came in to work for us, and we were just starting to do our technical run through, and those videos came up on the screen, they saw the stage, they thought, well, this company's going to be something, and they were wrong. But
and even if they didn't think it was going to be something, I think they all, and if you ask them today, and I know, at least Kevin Matthews still says it to me, but he's said it to other people in front of me, so I'll assume it's how he really feels. But I think even if they weren't thinking like, oh, this is going to be something, I need to hitch myself to them because this is going to take me to the top, because I don't think they were thinking that.
No, I don't think that.
Based on the houses we were drawing. But I think one thing that they knew, and something we all took a lot of pride in, was on my end, they always got paid. Didn't matter who showed up. There were envelopes with their names on it that had their pay in it before the show started. And that was something, and maybe that was coming from the mindset of someone who wanted to be a wrestler. I, knew the importance of taking care of the wrestlers. But the other thing was, I think they really just knew they were going to have fun. They knew they were going to be involved in some story. We never had just random indie matches until a little later, and we'll talk about that.
I think that's true with the videos also, because in that initial show that you just showed the menu from, at that point we hadn't met a lot of these wrestlers and we had no footage of them. So later on, we would work footage into their entrance videos. And at the beginning, it was just sort of generic.
Ironically, it was pretty much what WWE does now, where it's just their name and some background.
Right. But to the workers coming in, they would see their name come up with a custom entrance video, and what other indie company was doing that for someone? Who
cared about this random guy they were booking, because that's really all it was at that point. We had no storylines going into it. So, but our first show was to crown a brand new Pennsylvania champion, since Fred had now retired from in the ring and was working backstage. But before we get to that, I think it's really, it's fun, the kind of the story of how we put this whole stage together. But it was almost like the stage was kind of like went along with the whole process, because we also had built me an office, which, believe it or not, we had actual meetings. We had Rob Ecos, who is now whatever the hell his name is in NXT, but he was Robbie E, actually sent in a video that arrived at the office. The office was a storage unit in the back of our grandfather's office. There was, which was in the back of a shopping center.
The holiday decorations for the shopping center were stored back there.
So what we had was this little storage unit, which I believe used to be wasn't there some sort of hot tub thing or something once upon a time? Wasn't that the story? There was, it was long gone by then. Otherwise we'd still be soaking today. But it was just a tiny, I shouldn't say a tiny room. It's about four times the size of a pretty decent office I'm sitting in right now. It was absurd. We had a waiting area that was separated by half walls.
First, when I want to say, when Josh was going to design this, or he did design this office, and he laid it out and he drew it out in graph paper or something like that.
That's giving me too much credit. It was probably whatever piece of paper or napkin was,
The room was a long rectangle, and you come in the door on the one side, and it's a long room, deep room, I guess you'd say. And Josh got this little desk, and the design was for this little desk to be in the center, in the back of the room, that you're going to come in, that there's nothing else there, and it's just this this desk, with a couple of chairs in front of it. I don't know if that was supposed to be impressive looking, but I said to him, I came in there one day, and I said, I'm thinking about this, and it's going to look ridiculous. So I said, so we're going to turn your desk sideways and have a little version of what you imagine. We're going to have a tinier version of what you imagine, and in the front, we're going to do something different.
Right. And we did some awesome stuff in there. But so it's funny. You're saying, was it supposed to be impressive? The idea of it was, there was this aspect of me that was so uncomfortable, because I knew I was this kid, that I in fact didn't want anything big. My whole idea was, we were given this giant
desk was not
space.
Very big.
What's that?
The
desk was not big. I needed a little desk so I could do my editing. It was a tiered desk, so it wasn't it was
computer desk.
Yeah, it was computer desk. It wasn't it was a desk for people to come, sit down and let me talk to them about how we make movies. But it was, there was this giant room that you're never going to turn down a giant room. I'm not going to be no, find me something smaller. But I didn't want some big production, I didn't want that. But in turn, you were right, it would have been absolutely horrible. But yeah, to kind of wrap up with The Office, we basically we all built, again, Fred was kind of the mastermind and the lead contractor on the he was the GC of the job.
No idea what I was doing.
But I mean, dude, we leveled the floor And if by leveling the floor, I think we ended up making other parts.
Made it like a slope instead of where it was abrupt before.
We put down tiling.
We put down the
Carpet
tiling.
tiles, regular tiles. We created this fake marble pattern in what was supposed to be like the lobby that had was it like
star.
your like it was a star or something?
No, well, like our original plan was like, oh, maybe we'll do like the S, which is this S that's on my, the Shernoff S.
There was like a light marble and then like a dark border and then something in the middle.
So it was like a marble. Yeah, it was like a white and gray marble. And these are all just like sticky
like a laminate
tiles.
Thing.
Yeah. And then we had a black one that was just a border around, which was cool. Yeah. And then the inside was like ended up being some sort of like star-ish type design because we're like, we can do this and that. And then we're like, no, we can't do that. Let's just put something down. But it was cool because, and a lot of it when designing my home studio and office here, back then I had these built-in shelves like in those half walls that had a lot of like my wrestling figure collection. And after that was done, I mean, it was another almost 20 years before I got an office again where I was able to put my wrestling figure collection back out on display, which is kind of neat that I'm able to do that now. But, and I even have you can't see it here, but I even have my signed Al Snow action figure, which used to hang on the wall in my office there. Because if you're going to impress people, you impress them with
I do think
a 1 of 100 Al Snow signed.
But I think now it's become really popular for people to display their Hasbro collections and things. Like you were doing that in that office a long time ago.
Yeah, it wasn't popular when I was doing it.
It wasn't cool.
No, it wasn't cool at all.
Still, we built that out.
Whether or not it's cool today.
We built that office out, and it was kind of like a chilling area in the back, and this sort of waiting area in the front because obviously there's going to be so much business that you need to give people the chance to wait.
And you needed
in the same room.
Yeah, in the same room where I was just gonna what the hell was I gonna do? Like honestly, what was my game plan?
It became like a hangout place.
Right. That's absolutely what it became. But for the people who are going to be waiting in this room that's connected to the room where he's having the meeting with no division, we hung a television on the wall because we found one wrapping around. This leads into the stage.
Yeah, we hung it a couple times.
Yep, wrapping around the TWF office was a larger unfinished storage area, and in the back of that we found this old television. This is before there were flat screens and all. So we got a wall mount, but didn't really understand about properly anchoring things to drywall, and we stuck that thing up there, and it came in one day and it was no longer on the wall.
It wasn't on the wall anymore, but TVs were made differently back then, so that son of a bitch was still in good condition.
Hey, you also filmed my entrance, I believe, Sassy Mike Malassi, and we filmed
in the back hallway,
the grocery store behind all that. We filmed Big Lou.
Yeah.
And in the parking lot, him stealing a shopping cart and trying to steal a cart.
So, right. I think
he was trying to steal a hubcap.
A lot of our footage that we used for the show was filmed at that office.
There are a lot of like backstage.
Calvin and my entrance video with the fire.
Your entrance videos, and I'm making notes as we talk about it, what the timestamp is on this, because I want to see, just in case, and I apologize to anyone who's like, oh man, we're about to see something. Well, I might not be able to find it. But we definitely
had the fire GIFs or GIFs or what do you want to call them?
Oh yeah. God, they were they were like 8-bit fire things for your entrance music, your entrance video. But we filmed all the stuff. There was this long hallway. So we filmed it, and it was pretty cool. It was like Mangol would walk, and then he would like pause, and then Calvin would get in the place, and then we would play again. And nowadays, what would we have done? We would have thrown Calvin on a green screen, and we would have put him in whenever we want. Like and that's something I think that was the cool fun though.
It was a good hallway to use because it looked almost like behind the scenes in an arena.
Yeah, and so we actually did. There's definitely, I know I can find this somewhere. There's footage of, we've got Mangol backstage. Just he's backstage there doing his, like, he's arriving at the arena being Skate 309 for that for that one. But we had Mangol's showing up with his belt, and he's this belt that's right behind me here, and he's showing up with that, and Fred was actually like a backstage interviewer.
That didn't go well at all.
We were having a lot of fun though, and sometimes I look at it and I go, like, we could make such a better production today. We've made better productions since then.
Oh, easily, but it wouldn't matter as much.
But not only would it not matter, I think the fact that we had a camcorder and Dreams is what made it so much fun, because we were able to, you know, they always say like on a shoestring budget, or, you know, wine on a beer budget. Like we were doing wine on like a non-brand name bottle of water budget. Like it was,
but I think it's like
we weren't doing wine. We were doing beer on that non-brand name, you know, but
you made the point about ECW, and again, not in any way to compare what we did to that, but it's the same idea that ECW was, if ECW was starting up today, they probably would have a harder time standing out because their production would be so good.
Yeah,
they didn't have those capabilities back then, so they went with what they had and made it.
And they did
special.
all those amazing, you know, the way that they did the like the Pulp Fiction end montage. Their entire show was put together because they just did not have. I mean, their entire show was an infomercial for their tapes, but they didn't, you know, for those promos when they would do the whole Pulp Fiction deal at the end, that showed their characters in a way that that WWF at the time and WCW wouldn't have ever thought to have done, because they had incredible lighting and great sets and backstage, and they can do this and they can do that, and they've got arenas full of people that they're, you know.
It's almost as if ECW was on the reality TV edge of things before reality TV became a thing, right? Because the way they portrayed the wrestlers, the promos, it was like reality TV. It was believable,
right?
You know, the way they did all that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, especially like we talked about on That Was Extreme, Meanie and Gertner, when we did the episode on Taz, that Taz's promos and the way that was all produced lent itself to getting him over. So then when he showed up in the ring, you believed what you were about to see. And then, of course, physically he delivered. But anyway, so we...
But I think that's... to then compare that to what we were doing, and it's just one of many reasons that we weren't very successful, but we transitioning from what we talked about last time with the teenage league that we had, you had this idea really to be this like little league. So now here we are as adults, and we're going to have this more legitimate professional wrestling company. And now our goal was to be, we wanted eventually probably to get like picked up as like a WWE developmental or something.
I feel like that was like the more or less unspoken end game. Like we wanted to be we weren't Roland Alexander, God rest his soul. You know, it was sitting there backstage at Raw going, maybe one day this, you know, my promotion in the garage can become that. Like as overinflated as our views of ourselves and what we were doing was, we also were still grounded enough to just be like, okay, but we kind of get who we are.
But the problem in that was that, I mean, it was both a blessing and a curse, I guess, is that everything we did, from the projectors and the videos to the stage, to all of that, everything was designed that we're going to be a small scale version. Instead of we're not going to be an indie show. We're going to be a small scale version of the big time. And that worked in some ways, but in other ways, it made it hard we weren't innovating anything. We were just a watered down version of what you could get elsewhere.
And so that brings us to, that's very true. And that brings us to Back from Beyond, February of 2002. You know, some of the issues that I know, like we always had, and I know I always had, was again, this like false sense of importance. We could have started day one and we're all introduced as this is a tournament to crown the first ever champion for the TWF, which, by the way, stood for the Wrestling Federation, because we really wanted to keep TWF.
Because that brand was so important, and people would be really.
I mean, thank God, all these years later, we have gotten rid of the idea of having to brand ourselves TWF, no matter what they stand for. The acronym's the most important part. But and by the way, thank you all for joining us on Talking with Friends. So TWF. Anyway, my point, I didn't know if you guys were getting that. Because you guys are, this is an audio podcast as well, just as a reminder to everybody. Nobody can
it's like
hear.
you cutting a promo.
We'll talk about promos that were cut that night as well.
So I think what you were getting on is we kind of spent too much time on the story
Pennsylvania.
Well, I mean, that's there's a lot of that, and it's kind of jumping ahead with everything. But in how we what we eventually became in those years with trying to develop a TV show and everything, it really was trying to go down that path of like Monday Night Raw. Yes, right. Matt, I believe you're raising a finger.
Oh, he's trying to you still?
Yeah, this is for the audio listeners.
Oh yeah, is that a little violin, or are you tweaking Fred's?
Tweaking Fred's nips.
Okay.
I found something pleasurable.
Yeah, well, we'll get to nips in a bit, but Mess didn't join us till later. Yeah, go ahead. No. What I was going to say was, so it came. The story was there. Really, we came out. First of all, we had done this amazing show. We talked about last week, with Beyond the Grave, and how I talked about on the FITE special that I spent the next almost 20 years trying to chase that high, so to speak, of what that night felt like. So when we were coming back in 2002, we're like, well, we used to be in a ballroom. Well, damn, we got to be in a ballroom. Let's do it. And we went to the Radisson in Neshaminy. Where was it?
We always wanted ballroom
in Trevose, right?
Trevose. Around Ben Salem, right?
We always wanted to run nicer places. We didn't want to be. It was part of separating ourselves from the other indies that we didn't want to run like VFWs and things like that. And we'd been to that with the Dino Santa experience and also. Right,
and one day we'll do a full episode on Dino Santa, that little bastard. But no, I think what happened was we didn't realize that, okay, we can do this nice ballroom, but we don't have the fact that we're all in high school, or we all just graduated from high school, and all of our friends are going to come, and all the local people are going to be like, what? It's Upper Dublin kids? Let's see what's going on here. And we ended up in the newspaper, and if you remember, they ran it late. They ran it that day. Was when the article actually came out, which were like, well, this is helpful. I'm sure, that's going to draw a lot of people. But as Meanie would say, there were, we had a packed house of people dressed as empty chairs, but
that's right.
We, so no, and then we had some issues too, with the actual, I want to get back to the stage in a second.
Yeah.
But
that's how we started this whole thing.
Yeah, but this is, hey, we're talking with friends. This is what happens.
It is.
We follow along, people. Hold on tight. Pack a lunch, as Meanie would say. I think I'm just spending a lot of time with him. So every week on the Mind of the Meanie podcast, wherever you, I don't have to sell this to you. If you're listening to this, it's because you subscribe to Mind of the Meanie. We wanted it to be somewhere classy. Unfortunately, what we didn't realize was when you're doing something like that, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful to wrestling fans, but it was the venue itself. When we do things like later on in 2002, we would start running at school gymnasiums and Skate 309, with indoor skating rink, and with that, you're now getting traffic flow. You're getting places you can put up flyers. Well, doing it at the Radisson, we were able to put them in a couple liquor stores across the street or whatever. But you weren't getting, this was a hotel off of a main highway. This was not a place where people, where locals were hanging out.
It's where we had our senior prom.
It's where we had our senior prom.
Yeah, I think it's mainly a business hotel for people coming in for business. Yeah. They probably stay there.
Yeah, and so it ended up being, it was expensive. We decided we were like, we're going to offer really good food. So we got hoagies and never did that. Never did that again.
But again, we were running the same night as.
But the boys were happy to have something to eat after the show. But no, so we had a modest, a below modest turnout, I would say, but enough people that you weren't hearing crickets. It was enough people that you didn't hear the commentators, possibly because they weren't saying anything, but.
We had an ongoing problem over the years with commentary that was one thing we could never quite figure out when we were,
I blame Calvin, who ended up becoming a professional audio engineer.
We did not know how to get the
well,
audio.
Nobody
directly.
put me on commentary duty, right? I was always working the entrance video audio.
Yes, that's true.
You got to remember back then.
Well, I was just going to say, I wanted to remind everybody in case they're saying, well, what about your audio now? The audio now, that little bit of fuzziness that you've been hearing, is Mangol's actually doing this via walkie-talkie, so you have to bear with him. I
got a walkie-talkie for you. That's where it's gonna go.
Anyway,
what?
The thing you have to remember that time period was that there wasn't a lot being done digitally. You weren't videoing digitally. You were not recording audio digitally. So we didn't have a way to combine all these files sort of in post-production. What happened was then you were sort of uploading things or digitizing it after the fact. And when we tried to record to cassette tapes and things like that for the audio.
Dude, we were legitimately taking a karaoke machine and recording on cassette tapes.
It ran at a different speed than the video. So we were always running into problems with that. But
somewhere there's a cassette tape.
I cut you off somewhere about the commentary.
No, somewhere there's a cassette tape of Joel Gertner and Sassy Mike Malassi. Who Sassy Mike Malassi, basically it was Joel Gertner and the Blue Meanie combined with a little of Mike Green, and there's Sassy Mike Malassi. But so I get to every month on adfreeshows.com, I get to be sandwiched between the inspirations of Sassy Mike Malassi.
No pun intended.
No, I get to be hoagied.
We'll get to that.
I'm the solid rod in between their.
Some people listening don't know what a hoagie is.
Yeah, that's true. We actually have a lot of listeners from other countries and other states.
A long sandwich.
Yeah, some people will call it a hero. Some people will call submarine. Yeah. If you're familiar with Subway, Subway, which by the way plays a pretty large role in production efforts, and that video Mangol was talking about earlier with Big Lou and Sassy Mike Malassi doing their training montage. A lot of those videos took place if you watch So Says Shernoff this past month, there's actually a clip of Sassy Mike Malassi eating a hoagie, sitting at a weight bench. That's actually in the old Fort Washington subway. So our friend, our old friend, he was a good friend. Biz Cheney. Oh, should I say it? Well, who cares? So Biz was follow him on social media. I'm sure he'll love to say hi to you. Biz, his parents owned a Subway, so we used to hang out there, and we would we'd eat Subway sandwiches, but we'd go after hours.
And there was a Subway. There was a Subway in the shopping center.
There's a Subway in the shopping center.
Was too. So a lot of our meetings and everything we'd be eating Subway. It was just
Calvin Tam would get himself some Snapple, roll the empty bottle back and forth on the conference room table, and that was pretty.
Sell any tickets? You couldn't sell 5 tickets.
All right, we're gonna take a break for that.
That's a story for another day.
All right, no, we got to tell it. All right.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So we're having a meeting. This is in 2002. This is a few show. No, this is right before the show that is depicted on Mangol's shirt. Which, by the way, Mangol, I gotta give you credit. That was a pretty. As the kids say, I popped for that. That's pretty awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We had you have to set this up, and it kind of goes to you saying like we're kind of full of ourselves and what we were trying to do. We were trying to be so legitimate that we incorporated, and so we had to have
yes and no.
Nobody was really doing.
Yes and no. It wasn't so much to be legitimate as it was fear of getting sued.
Right, we were trying to do things the right way. I mean,
yeah.
And
had I known the right way that promoters do it in the real world is they just use fake names. And
PayPal.
Yeah, and they use PayPal.
Yeah. But we didn't know there were LLCs.
I'll get you. I'm gonna get you on PayPal. I don't know. That's just a make believe. I can't. Mangol, you can't think of any promoter like that, right?
Of course not.
I hope the GoPro guys are listening. They'll appreciate it.
Not many people can sweat through a leather jacket. Okay?
Oh, that is a story for another day. But we'll go
anyway.
So we had an actual corporation set up, which meant we had to have these monthly meetings and take notes and have stock and all this other stuff that didn't make any sense. And so we all wore like multiple hats. So we had our corporate board meeting, and then our like production meeting and our creative meeting. There were so many meetings
separated only by multiple trips to Subway. That was pretty much it. It was like corporate meetings done. Let's go to Subway. You come back and it's like, all right, our merchandise meeting is done. Let's go. Yeah, let's go to Subway and we'll come back and we'll talk about our storylines and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know which of those meetings this was. I guess this was like production or something. I don't know.
Something hey, real quick, by the way, I said merchandise. Be sure to go over to ProWrestlingTees.com/mindofthemeanie and pick up your very own TWF Talking with Friends t-shirt. That is right. It is a TWF shirt that I am really, really hoping it's to your right, Fred. The logo is to your right.
I can't do this mirrored thing.
It's right over there. There it is. But we're really hoping that these sell better than the original TWF shirts, which, by the way, we might be doing some giveaways at some point down the line of the original TWF shirts. And by giveaways, we might charge you. So anyway, go ProWrestlingTees.com/mindofthemeanie. Continue.
So we're in a meeting, and Josh had laid out an expectation at the previous meeting that we were all going to attempt to sell tickets to the upcoming show.
Skate 309 show, yeah.
The problem with that was that we were all best friends. So we obviously had our families, but beyond that, who are you really going to go to? Because we all had each other and kind of like a periphery of the second tier of friends that we all knew. So we're all going to the same several people. Yeah. And so no one was
like,
really doing very well.
Mangol grabbed like a couple people he knew through baseball or something, and like I would grab
from the neighborhood, and
I'd grab like my Jack and Dave and like people like that from high school. People. Like you could grab like a few people here and there, but that was really each of us maybe had like 2 or 3 at most. Right. And then when you factor in Fred, you and I being brothers, that cuts down. It's not even like we're bringing unique family from each other. So
needless to say, we come to this meeting and Josh is sorely disappointed in everyone and how little we'd sold.
Well, I think the goal was everyone needed to sell 5 tickets. And with, I think, like a deep down expectation that everyone had at least sold 1, And then we get to our good,
you can take it from here.
All caps, good friend, Bismod. And Biz was never a wrestling fan. Never, but Biz was a lifelong friend of Matt's and pretty much Matt and Calvin and then had been friends with us for the last couple of years with me and Fred. Fred knew him since high school. Plenty of fun high school stories.
He hated me since 9th grade because he asked to borrow my Mortal Kombat game, and I didn't know who he was, so I told him no, and he held that against me.
So Biz kind of like he played fast and loose with the English language. Like Biz was kind of like, so he would say things in ways like he would get very serious, very like emotional about things, and like so pretty much. So Biz had a girlfriend back then. And
that's a whole episode in itself.
Oh, that's a series. But so Biz had a girlfriend, so there was kind of this expectation that he very at least could have, sold a ticket to his girlfriend or sold a ticket to his friend Scott, like maybe a 2-pack to both Scott and his girlfriend, right? Maybe at the because I think they were hanging out together around that time a lot, right? Definitely.
Rumor and innuendo.
Yeah.
I will say
Meltzer says they were.
I'll say that his girlfriend did help to paint the walls in the TWF office. I came in one time, probably with some Subway.
I think that was actually Scott painted the walls with her,
and Biz had his girlfriend on his shoulders, and she had a roller and was painting the top of the walls. So she was part of this experience of making this happen.
Yes. So Krista, wherever you are, thank you. But also, screw you for what what was to come for the next decade. But
You did.
regardless, it's neither here nor there or anywhere. But
Yeah, go on.
so Biz, he had a younger brother who had his own group of friends, 2 parents, a couple of people here, a couple of people there. Sold 0 tickets. So I'm just like, Biz, you gotta, be able to sell a ticket or whatever. And then Calvin, if I remember correctly, sitting across the table from him, goes, man, Biz, you can't even sell 1 ticket. And that man threw up the middle finger. He goes, fuck you, Calvin. Fuck you. And then I, at the head of the table, I'm like, Biz, calm down. And just, if you're watching this in video form, and if you're not, go to Mind of the Meanies YouTube page to watch just this one segment in around 45 minutes, because he then throws up the other arm directed towards me. And
he's in the middle. He's in the middle of the side of a long table with everyone around him.
Yes. So he's got one middle finger, one arm stretched forward at Calvin, going, fuck you. And then to me, another arm stretched completely out to his right. And he is now, and then everyone's like, Biz, calm down. And so he is now pivoting his body without moving his arms. Like he's just pivoting at the waist. Going, fuck you. And just, man had...
Can't do it.
I just can't do it. Fuck you guys. No, fuck you guys. I just can't do it.
Was that the first time we fired him?
Yeah, maybe. He'd probably been fired a bunch of times by
I feel
then.
like that would be such a great vignette today.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Done right.
Meanie Tunes presents. But no, I mean, look, it's what happened. He reminds me so much like, well, that's a story for another time. It's just quoting.
I mean, we definitely there was always tensions. Josh, you and I had a falling out the night before the first show, and a few other times.
Coined a good phrase. 98%. Well, what happened was. That one stuck for a while.
Explain why he's 98%.
Okay,
that had to do with the audio.
Yes.
That you wanted a solution to recording the commentary by the time of the show, and it was the night before, and I had not solved the problem yet.
And I was there,
like, I'm done.
I'm the proverbial Vince McMahon. It's not goddamn pal. We need you to, and I'm basically at the God damn it, I need audio, and Fred. I don't know if it was based on just like because you weren't liking the cut of my jib, so to speak, how I was being very, so you kind of were like, I'm not going to do it, kind of threw your hands up. The 98% is not as offensive as it would come to be perceived as. Yeah. What I was actually saying was you have done 98%, like you've done so much work, just, like the old Happy Gilmore, like there's your home. Go to your home, your bags are packed, you have your ticket. Go home. But
I was tired and preparing for the next day, which has to do with the stage.
Right. And something that should be noted about Fred too, about him being tired. We've talked a lot about the video editing I was doing. But at this show, Fred was doing all the videos. Fred had edited all the original videos, all fell on Fred. So I had not touched any video editing at that point. And
you were too involved in the storylines.
Yeah, I mean, I was filming, so I was more on the producing end of it and doing the storyline stuff like that. And I was also the promoter. I was dealing with the building. I was dealing with the the license and the insurance and renting the ring.
It definitely changed, but at that point, the entire production was under my
sort of. So I mean, that's another thing. When I say he's doing 98%, it's not like I said, Fred, go get an extension cord and do something with the audio, and he only did the extension. Fred had created all of this stuff we're talking about of what set us apart was Fred's brainchild, and then he physically created it, be it the entrance videos or the stage. So
I was gonna say it's nice after 2 decades to finally get the compliments of my work.
Oh no, well, I'll cut that out. So Fred had this idea. I think Calvin you had said before, like, did we just spitball it out? But I think it was your idea, Fred. I think you were like, I think I can do this. I think we can have it. I think you were like, we need to have. There was a whole lot of like, we need to have a stage.
we had the space. I don't really remember. I mean, it's just something that I thought would be cool to do. And
Were
I
you
was
like,
always
oh,
kinda
we
like,
could just go to Home Depot and do it?
Home Depot.
And you have to
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
too, like we were in college. We had a lot of time on our hands.
This is
You
this is
know,
what it was.
like,
This is I remember what it was. We were doing the TWF office, and I had, I'm sure somebody has seen this, those orange Home Depot books. It's probably all digital now, but like where you would
yeah,
you get
if
this big
memory
book that
serves,
tells
you
you-
had the Canadian version.
I think I did, yeah.
Yes,
That's
because I inherited that book from you and was just like, oh, that's not a measurement I'm familiar with. And what are some of these words? They're
We
English,
didn't
but
try
they
to
don't
wire
mean-
an outlet.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh, we can tell that story when you killed me.
So I was using that book as a reference because there were no YouTube videos showing you how to do construction or any of that kind of stuff. And in it, they talked about building a deck, like an outside deck, and you can get these various joist hangers and all these other things. And I was reading through that and I was like, we could basically build a deck and that will be our stage. So I now have a guide that's going to tell me what to do.
And we did have, on the other side of where my office was, we had this massive storage unit. And
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
the first iteration of it, the screen for the projector was part of the stage itself, right? Was it framed out?
yeah,
Like a
no,
Titantron?
So this is the thing.
No.
So I came up with this idea to build a deck, but that didn't happen until later. I then came up, because I had no idea what I was doing, I decided that I wanted to build these boxes that were going to be like walls, that they were going to be framed out and with a bunch of studs, and then they're going to come together. And there were two boxes, two big cubes sort of, and then next to that was like another wall, and that extended wall was what the screen was attached
and
to.
part of that too, of having these multiple boxes, was we had this massive storage unit, but we were also doing the show 45 minutes away from that storage unit. So it was, how do we build this? And then how do we bring it? And then how do we build it that morning?
That was a big part of it, was so that it came. So the boxes would, I actually marked up. I had I think like a Sharpie, and I marked up the joints, like where every point would connect, and numbered them all, so that we took it down to the individual sides of the cubes, these framed walls, and that's what we transported and rebuilt.
Yeah, and but it was, I gotta say, that was one of my best memories of that time, was building the stage in the storage unit. And the first time we like walked up on the stage, once it had been painted and everything, and was just
so. I mean, one of the funny things about that though is that we did not design it with rear stairs in the original stage, if you recall. We never gave any consideration to how people would get up onto the stage. So I just had, like, we originally, obviously we thought about the ramp, and I ended up building a ramp later on for Kevin Matthews years later, which was not a good idea. Stairs were a much better way to go.
They loved it.
I mean, you could ask him. It took a lot of work the days that I was there, and then I think days and days after. But we had stairs in the front. We did not have any stairs in the back, and I believe at the show we had
You had to piggyback
like a
each
step
other.
ladder or
Didn't we have to piggyback each other?
Was some sort, just like a step ladder or some kind of?
I think it was. I think
it was literally like one of those little white,
2.5
foot. You
That's
barely open up. Step stool things.
It was just like
a
the little
household,
household step ladder.
Like you need to get down a dish from the high cabinet.
Yes,
which isn't meant for certain professional wrestlers.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. We'll get to that in a moment.
Well, so the thing with the stage. So we spent a considerable amount of money, considering we had none, and we rented the Home Depot truck, which Calvin was the only one old enough to drive the truck.
Yes,
and drove all this lumber to our office, and we built it over I guess about a week or so, and then we had to break it all apart and transport it to the show, and people really loved it, but it was difficult to maneuver. It was kind of narrow and very, very tall, and it was what it was. So we, the other problem with it too was that we built it in one place and then moved it somewhere else. And when we reassembled it, the floor was I assumed their floor was level and our storage room floor was not. So now the stage wasn't level, and so we had
the stairs are put
because we didn't like. I guess
that's right. We had to do the stairs
Hold
the wrong way
on,
because the
hold on.
stage was so tall.
The stairs.
Yes.
Imagine a steep hill with maybe it seemed like a couple inches to actually put your feet down. That's what it felt like going down the stairs. So going down the stairs, it's amazing that no one landed high and tight.
So you want a high up stage because you want it to be impressive. The whole point of it is that the wrestler comes out and everybody can see them from however far back they are, that they're up high, above the crowd. The problem with that is that in that case in 2002, the stairs needed to be very steep, so we had to flip the deck stairs and create this like really not up to code thing.
Instead of like this,
the same problem presented itself with the ramp for Pro Wrestling Syndicate many years later. And I don't know if those videos are still on YouTube. You can find many, many famous wrestling stars looking down and trying not to trip as they walk down that ramp, because unless you built, we built it out 16 feet, which was long, which we thought was long enough. But unless you built it about 40 feet, you were not going to have a gradual descent from that high up stage. So that's the problem.
Again, though, that's the I mean, we can laugh at the lunacy of some of this stuff, but we can also look at the impressive nature of how far we were able to get without any true knowledge. Because again, we talk about things,
or anyone breaking their neck,
But we talk about the video editing stuff. None of us ever had any training on that. Right. You talk about building this stuff. You read a book and taught yourself how to do this stuff, and but so we ended up getting this stage, and on that stage, it was really cool. We went to it was either Sam's Ass or Sam Ash Music, I think it was, or it was Guitar Center. I think it was Sam Ash though, where we got like the lights and the smoke.
At, Franklin Mills Mall, right, or whatever they call it now. I don't know.
And so we got like these flashing lights for Mangol's entrance and some cool stuff. It really was a cool production, all things considered, when you really looked at how none of us had any business creating something as good as what we created. And I mean, God, you had it all began with like this video zooming into this tombstone with the old TWF logo and then exploding or splintering as tombstones would. And it took how many hours to render?
Like 12 hours.
Like 12 hours to render this.
Almost got rendered useless.
Yeah.
And that was
bring business family into this.
But that was also part of, along with the forcing the TWF letters into it and everything. To us, it was the same TWF, which was, I don't know if it was necessarily detrimental to anything that we were doing, but I
don't think it mattered.
It wasn't necessary. We felt that it was so important to connect the dots of everything. That was that opening video, was to say, this is what you're about to see is a continuation of the same thing you saw back in 1999. Like
I mean, you have to remember, for us, it was the greatest night of our lives at that point, and everyone loved it. We went out on such a high note because the other show got canceled that I think there was this like, what the people have been waiting for the last 3 years, the return of the TWF. And now we're like, but no one was waiting for it except for us.
No, we were popping ourselves with that stuff.
So we got to the show, and since this episode was about the stage and apparently about Back from Beyond.
We can. How much time do we have left to get into that?
We got a little bit of time. If Mangol has to leave, we have
10 minutes. We'll
I think we'll wrap. We'll
do 10 minutes of our highlights of Back from Beyond.
Yeah, 10 minutes from the 10 minutes of highlights of Back from Beyond. So the day started with, we rented the ring. It was the exact same ring from Beyond the Grave. We got it from AFA, Wild Simone Training Center. Now, I had trained with AFA prior to this show now, so I had a really good relationship. But last minute, for whatever case, I got a phone call from AFA. They aren't going to be able to make it because the their like extra truck broke down to carry the guardrail.
Bullshit.
Yeah, to carry the guardrail. And if we don't have the guardrail, it was like we'd need to pay an extra like $100 or something. And what I should have been like was just like, well, yeah, we don't need guardrail. Who cares? But to me, I was like, well, we need this guardrail. We need it. And again, that was this inflated sense of what it was. We needed this guardrail. John Brody, lukewarm John Brody, paid out of pocket because he said, "What money did we have?" Brody spotted $100 for that. Brody also bought those tables for our triple threat match, but of me and Mangol and Brody. But we kicked the night off with a couple. With I did a promo, and as Mangol liked to point out, I at one point said Pennsylvania instead of Pennsylvania. Nerves can get to you.
It happens.
Matt Mangol had nerves of his own as he cut a promo talking about I don't know what the hell he said, and then he like forgot one of his things, so he's like talking. He's like, "Oh, wait, no, wait, almost forgot."
Sorry, I was trying to make it seem more realistic because we had 17 pages, and it was told to us that it must be down to the letter.
No, you didn't have a written script. Matt Mangol's pontificating.
How WWE runs it today?
Much like WWE today, sir. So
no, that man, Matt Mangol had his own. He had bullet points. That man had bullet points, and he forgot the bullet point about Damian Ali.
I have the promo, and I have our match.
And you wrote it yourself.
The packet. It's upstairs in the attic that you gave me.
Well, I think everybody's going to want to see it on the next Talking with Friends.
I have it up there.
All right. Well, you better get it out of the attic. This better not be like a Tony Schiavone and the 6-man tag team title that's been in his attic for the last 3 years that he won't, keeps promising Conrad he's going to get it out. It's covered in dog hair.
Next time, Mangol, we got to see the promo.
Next time, Mangol, I want to see this promo, this written promo. Now, I don't know if you have a written promo. I know that there was a written match because me and Brody got together.
I'm pretty sure.
Me and Brody got together with a written spot by spot match because not only did we have next to no experience, but it was a triple threat.
It's such an easy match to start off with, Josh.
Yeah, right.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, it was pretty simple. I didn't want to take the pin.
Well, I should have just fallen down the stairs, taken myself out for the first part of the match, and laid there. And
I think you did. We super kicked you. We did a double super kick and sent you out the.
I was looking for the stairs on the other side.
It's worth mentioning because Mangol's role in this that one of the things we decided in between versions of our company, because Dorian was not around anymore. He was off fighting a war. So Matt wasn't going to be part of a tag team anymore, and we decided. And
that's not a joke. Dorian was actually he had joined
literally in the army.
He was in the army.
And we did not have Big Papa at that point,
who had been our big star in the previous.
So days. we needed a new star, and we needed a new baby face to oppose Josh and his gang. Yeah. So Matt was the guy, and Matt also, that as part, as I guess as we were all becoming really close friends, Matt stepped into the role that Noah had previously served, also as sort of the right hand man to like help get everything together.
Yeah, and that's because in the old one, Noah really was like my second on everything, like, and Mangol really did take over that role of coming up with a lot of the stuff. So, and again, that goes back to our feeling. So we had the Pennsylvania title tournament that night, and that kind of goes back to what our issue was, which was we were nervous about putting the world title on these new indie guys that we didn't know. Yep. We had Scott Fowler, we had Kevin Matthews, we had Blind Rage, which was like think Darby Allin but with no talent, and we had we had the one Andy Only, who was good for curling up in fetal position when that's true though, Mangol, what you're pointing out. No, he always had one eye on the door, making sure nobody was coming. But no, Andy, so we put the title on the one Andy Only. We had Bill Bain. Bill Bain last seen as what was he? One of the conquistadors on Raw. He was the conquistador that everyone thought was going to be Kurt Angle. That was Bill Bain.
Yeah.
This was his first match he ever had was at our show.
We decided that we wanted to keep, for the time being, we were going to keep the world title in-house, and the Pennsylvania title we were going to experiment with giving to an indie worker that we didn't know. But we chose Andy only because he had been working for WXW for AFA. We didn't know that he was still sort of kind of a student and had been doing some spots on the show while still not a graduate.
Yeah, I think the word you were looking for was the shits, but yeah. But he took this booking though, and he also had his brother, the Bronx Bomber.
Yes.
The Bronx Bomber
doesn't age well.
I
believe he was our first no-show.
You said doesn't age well. I'll remind you, this is February 2002. Okay?
Yep. New York had a situation in 2001.
Yeah, about 5 months earlier, New York had a wee bit of a thing. It was on September 11th. And so we were not thrilled about this Bronx Bomber name, and I don't know.
He did us a favor.
Yeah, he did us a favor by canceling the night before because he was having like personal demons or something.
Right.
Not the first time that we dealt with that crap. But so that was last minute. We decided, well, what are we gonna do? And I hopped on a call. I want to say with Andrew Sagan. I think I was on the phone with Andrew. Andrew Sagan, who had been and later would return as Vortex, the thorn in Punch Fresh's side. God, their rubber match in Vegas was amazing, but that's a story for another time. So I was on the phone with him kind of talking about it, like, I think just kind of venting about like what to do. And I had this Mexican luchador mask that Bill Apter gave me for my high school graduation. It was a really like cheap nothing mask. Like, it wasn't like a high quality one, and it was definitely like a child's mask. Like, it was way too small, but it was fun. It was cool. And I'm like, well, we've got this. Like, what can we do? And we came up with this idea. And I don't know that it was me and Andrew that came up with the idea. I know Andrew. I was on the phone with Andrew when I came up with the name. We decided that we would have Kevin Matthews, who we kind of saw as like the biggest star because he had done like I don't know, he had done like some sort of
Funkin'
Dojo or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
So we saw, and I mean, it's easy to argue that he became the biggest star of all of them.
Sure.
You know, he's under developmental deal. And of course, his time in Impact Wrestling, and now everything that he's doing with WrestlePro. But we had this idea. He was too cocky, Kevin Matthews. We'll call him El Cocky. And, the cock. And it was basically what we were going with. But he would be El Cocky, and the idea was he would wear this mask. But the joke was he would wear his Kevin Matthews gear with a giant KM on it.
No attempt to hide who he
No attempt to hide it. And so the idea, which I actually think we all, and I don't know who came up with this or whatever, but I think we came up with a pretty good way of backing up, was we had him lose in the first round so that the next first round match, he came, or maybe it was like two later, he came back out as El Cocky. Perfect story. He's a heel. He's trying to do anything he can to stay in the tournament. And I don't know if it was first round, second, whatever it was, he was El Cocky. El Cocky would go on to become one of our most beloved characters. Kevin really sold it with his little like La Parka walk to the ring, and it became something people loved. And then Fred created the greatest entrance video of all time, which I don't think we even have a copy of.
Oh man,
I'm sure you can see it. Mangol, you have the videos of some of these events that have like screenshots of the entrance video in there.
That's another box I gotta drop.
Yeah,
off.
You gotta go in your attic, man. But no, so but El Cocky came out to Informer, the Spanish version. Matt, was that your doing?
I had some random DVD with all kinds of stuff, and that was on there. So
yeah, so you came up with that idea, which was amazing.
CD, not a DVD. Sorry,
CD. Yeah, but it was amazing, if you will, Mangol. Can't believe you forgot that one. But But no, so Kevin Matthews, we were all excited about this, except for the fact that he screwed up his knee and barely worked at all the entire night. But you know what? He was entertaining as hell. He was never in the ring,
Entertaining.
but he was around the ring. He was very, very entertaining. And Kevin proceeded to work with us for the remainder of our run through 2003.
Sure.
Yes.
And
he was also responsible for bringing in some of our other talent later on.
yeah, Danny Demanto, Drew Blood.
We'll get into all kinds of stories.
Hayden and
about
Cage.
this.
We'll talk about them, and that's another time. But
to wrap it up, is there anything else? I mean, we could tell a lot of things, but with that,
yeah, Frank Talent.
Yes,
that's a whole other episode too.
The State Athletic Commission was there and was very unhappy about some of our choices of entrance music, and
it was Big Lou came out to what song? What was it?
Big Pimpin'.
Big Pimpin'.
Right.
And the first like 5 words are all like F-bomb or worse than that.
So we had some heat with the state, and then but Rockin' Rebel was there as an apprentice sort of the State Athletic Commission, and he told us that if we
doing something illegal, he wasn't an apprentice, he was doing something illegal.
If we went through him, he would arrange that the state athletic representative would no longer attend our shows.
Yeah,
so.
which didn't really, but that was down the line because he was there, because there was definitely that time TWF Inferno where our poor mom was stuck in the ticket booth with Frank Talent with no deodorant. But story for another time. Although I guess that's the story. But we should also say Rockin' Rebel, piece of shit.
Horrible person.
There'll be a lot more of that, I'm sure.
There'll be a lot, but I just want to make sure if anyone knows the Rockin' Rebel and knows his story, especially how his story ended, and is thinking to themselves, "Oh, these guys were buddies with the Rebel." No. We had the displeasure of working with him too many times, which was our fault and necessity, I guess, and just not truly knowing everything about him. But not a good person. By any stretch of the imagination, but to kind of put a bow on this show, it was an interesting night. Mangol, Brody, and I had a stiff, ugly match, and I don't mean ugly in the sense that it was terrible. It was a terrible match. My back was like, I had been having some back issues because I had a neck issue, and I was having some back issues. It turns out, though, that you should exercise if you want to be a pro wrestler. I wasn't doing that. And because I still had the mindset of I didn't really work out very much when I was in high school. I was on the wrestling team and stuff. But, it was a different, I was a younger guy. So I was carrying a little extra weight. And my back basically kind of like almost like spasmed a little bit throughout the match and was just very uncomfortable. It was just bad, man. It was a bad match. One that I am proud to say Matt and I took it upon ourselves when fate led to us wrestling 2 months later, the match that Mangol has a picture on a shirt.
2 out of 3 falls, we redeemed ourselves.
2 out of 3 falls, and I will say one of the best matches that we ever had.
Much better ring.
Much better ring, and I think we really proved ourselves. I got a haircut, that helped a lot, it was a cool show in general.
We'll get. I was gonna say that we'll pick up next time where we went from there, and a little story about a not so little man. Named Mark Mest, who is one of our absolute favorite people that we interacted with along the way.
But you did not take into account when you built that stage.
No, Mark.
That's a story for next time.
Everybody, do yourselves a favor. Here's your homework before the next Talking with Friends. Google Mean Mark Mest. And if that isn't enough to make you tune in for episode 3 of Talking with Friends, I don't know what is. But yeah, we're going to tell
what shirt you got to be wearing next time.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, this was a fun show, a little trip down memory lane again. I like this format. Eventually we'll run out of some stuff to talk about and we'll just chat in general. But this was there's a lot. But This was a fun show. Final thoughts, everybody, on Back from Beyond. Fred?
I think it was a great show. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Matt,
Matt,
by all means.
Matt, you begin.
It was an interesting experience. The build up to it seemed like it was 10 years because of the hiatus, if you will. Not the hiatal hernia, but that'll be next week. But
yeah, we'll talk about him later.
The hiatus that we were on, we were psyched. This was our WrestleMania.
Yep.
We had in our minds that we were going to get 100,000 people. Obviously, we fell slightly short of that.
Yep.
But the 2 out of 3 falls match was a great experience. You learn more when you fail than you do when you succeed. So
agreed.
I thought I broke my nose in the first minute of that match, which kind of just totally, I was seeing stars. Yep. So there goes our pre-written match out the window.
Yes.
The ring, if you want to know what it felt like, go outside, not on the sidewalk, but go in the middle of the street and take a bump. That's softer. And not to mention, the boys in the back. This was our first experience with them. This could be a whole 100-episode thing.
Yeah, just talking about the one night.
It was a great experience.
Worst ring mats ever outside the ring.
Right.
They were like bunchy. They couldn't walk on them. It was like walking on a it was really weird. They bunched
saran
up.
wrap or something. But so it was a great experience. We had fun. But
it was. I think we were positive about it. I think we were disappointed in the turnout. I think we were happy that the way everything we did was received from the crowd and from the people in the back. And for me, it was a very different experience because I think maybe while things were getting set up, I think I stepped into the ring just for shits and giggles one time, but I had nothing to do with the actual product out in front of the audience. I was behind the scenes the entire night. It was very different.
It would be almost a year before that would change. Calvin Tan, your thoughts on that night?
I think we did great with the production. I think the wrestling itself was lacking, but I think we
but also really way better than it had been in the past because we had trained people.
Well, that is true. And just thinking back, it's kind of like I can't believe we pulled it off.
Yeah,
like all the different things that we attempted to do and then actually did. And we didn't think much of it. We were just like, hey, this is a great idea. Let's do it. And then we found a way to do it. And that was basically our 20s, right? Like our early 20s. It's just, while other people would be hanging out doing other things, this is what we would talk about and then
a wrestling
to do
company.
It.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely lived a unique life back then. And thanks to everybody who tunes in, we get to revisit that every so often. If you have not yet, make sure that you subscribe to all of us on social media. I'm at Sosa Shernoff. Fred is at Frederick Shernoff. Frederick? Or is it Fred? Frederick Shernoff. Calvin is on Instagram. Go follow him on Instagram. All right, he's at Underground Magi on Twitter, but Instagram he is
Calvin Tan Magic.
And Matt Mangol, of course, at Mangol Strength on Twitter. You want to go check that out too. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Matt's YouTube channel. We got a few more on there. We're starting to really build it up, and we want to see it. We want to see him get that 100 subscribers so that he can get that URL, which allows him to then just promote the hell out of it and get all the eyeballs that he deserves on it.
Amazing.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah. That's another episode right there.
Yes. But that is this episode. This episode is done. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and make sure to tune in to the next Talk with Friends. I kind of already said that. Oh, I know what I want to tell you to do. Working a match. Go subscribe right now. Subscribe to youtube.com/mindofthemeanie. Hit the like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell, because that's going to let you know the next time Talking with Friends is here to entertain you. For Matt Mangol, for Calvin Tan, for Fred Shernoff, I'm Josh Shernoff, and we will see you next time.